Hello, everybody. It's World Cup season. I am AF, your host, joined today by Jason Ronnie, Mubeen Ahmed, and Ziyaad Parker. Also joined today by a special guest, a good friend of mine, Damon Gray. Welcome, everybody. Good to have you on.
Good to
Pleasure.
be.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Damon, this is your first time on the pod. So we have something that we normally do with first timers, that is an icebreaker. So my icebreaker question to you is, what is it that brought you into the world of football? Was it an event? Was it a person?
I have a good one for this. So, obviously, when it comes to the U.S., 2010 World Cup was very magical for all of us. So that was kind of like a good intro into it. When I was in university, when I was in college, I would call our men's and women's soccer teams, do play-by-play for them. And I liked the sport. I wasn't like fully in on it yet. And my senior year, I was fortunate enough to go with them to Costa Rica to go on like a week and a half, 2 week excursion in the rainforest and San Jose, all throughout the country, and just experience it. And it was the first time in my life we went to this tiny stadium in Limon. I feared for my life at an event for the first time ever, and I loved it. And I've been hooked ever since.
Ah, nice, man. That's cool. So I bet you actually got to see like some really good football over there. And did you get to meet any cool people along the way, or?
Just the people of the country were awesome. The country itself was great. Going down in San Jose, having the food, experiencing the culture, as you just mentioned. It was a really cool time. Getting to see a few matches as well. Got to see a stunning goal in that game, and then the moment was we had. You can't remember the matchup at this point. It was so long ago. But essentially, the opposing player came up to the left back and just elbowed him right in the back of the head. Like straight up just knocked him out cold right in front of us, and the entire section just did down in front. And like the person we were with, they just looked at us, she's like, "Yeah, this happens like every game."
That's my kind of football.
Yeah, you love that. You love going in hard, even when you play yourself.
This team isn't even in the top flight anymore. This Limon team, they were there for like maybe a year and a half. It was their first time in the top flight in Costa Rica.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Nice one, man. But yeah, like I mentioned, it is World Cup season. That's why we all here today. And yeah, I guess I can just start with you, Damon, straight off the bat. US men's national team. Like I know how passionate you are about them, and what was the emotions like for you watching that first game? I mean, it's the first time that they've been in the World Cup for how long has it been now?
It's 8 years. It's been since 2014. Missed out on 2018. I'll never forget where I was when we did miss out, and being surrounded by a bunch of people who were from Central American countries. So just very much being laughed at that night. And it was pretty tough to handle that one. And honestly, I was very much fearing for the sport in this country at that moment, because I know how important World Cups are to the fandom and the growth of the sport in the US. So missing out on the World Cup, it was really detrimental to me and a lot of other people in the perception of the sport. Fortunately, within the 4 years, of course, our US women's team is very successful. So it didn't dwindle as much, and the anticipation and during qualification, it was just very much, don't blow this again. Finally, we're here, kicked off. And yeah, as mentioned, I got emotional because essentially it's been 8 years, a little over 8 years at this point, since I've got to see the US men play in a World Cup. And when Tim Weah scored the opener, yeah, I cried. And it was emotional. It really was. And unfortunately, we'll talk about the game. It didn't quite go our way. Didn't finish a lot of chances early on. Completely fumbled it in the second half, but that happens.
Yeah, like I was just going to speak about it. It seemed like it was a game of two halves, and I mean, you guys created all the chances in that first half, and that should have sealed the victory in the end. But I mean, the second half it was filled with weird substitutions for the first part, and um, yeah, I don't know. Are we going to speak about the elephant in the room that is Christian Pulisic? I mean,
So I actually thought Pulisic played pretty decently, all things considered, because he's a target guy. Opposing teams are going to go after him and just kind of knock him up. He is a little bit injury prone too, so if he ever goes down, he takes a knock. He hold your breath for a hot second. I was more worried, honestly, about Giovanni Reyna and how he just didn't make an appearance at all. And that was a guy in my starting 11. If I had to put out my dream starting 11, the front three essentially would have changed almost completely. They went Tim Ware on the right, Josh Sargent up top, Pulisic on the left. Ideally for me, I would have had Brendan Aronson in there as well. He came in very late in the game, things like the 70th minute around there. And
he created so many chances.
He did. And instead of Gio Reyna coming in, Jordan Morris comes in, which was a head scratcher for myself. So, when you look back on it and it's like, yeah, I didn't love the Tim Weah starting up top. Obviously, I ate crow on that one because he scored a great goal from the outside of the boot and was able to really be the only one that could actually finish in this game. Brendan Aronson, when he did come in, had a wide open header that I think he just blinked and completely whiffed. And Walker Zimmerman completely fumbled the bag. He went for a ridiculous challenge when Gareth Bale was back to goal. No, he's not doing anything from there. Maybe he'll turn and find whoever's in the middle, but mistakes like that, you can't afford it. And it's unfortunate because I thought Zimmerman Ream played very well, especially in that first half, most of the second half. You make one awful mistake, Bale puts it away, and then you couldn't do anything after that. It's too late. You have 8 minutes.
Yeah, no, 100%. Just another point that I'd like to make is that it was so nice to see so many English Premier League players in that US men's national team. I mean, it just shows how many of the American players are coming over to play in the European leagues, not just over there, like you mentioned, Gio Reyna as well. I mean, we know that you support Borussia Dortmund. You are a huge Dortmund fan. So having that sort of link up between Reyna and your team, that's quite cool. Moving on to England. I see it's coming home. Is it coming home?
It's coming home after that performance.
You were getting on some other cheap drugs or what?
Yeah. Look, I think it was quite a good performance. I think everyone had a good game. Maybe besides Stones, a couple of defensive errors, one which led to the goal, and one where was a bit slow, where I can't remember who the player was from Iran, which hit the crossbar. But other than that, I think Saka was outstanding, carrying in his form from the season into the World Cup. Jude Bellingham, also outstanding game. I think Damon would be proud seeing that he is a Dortmund supporter. And I think the subs were right on cue. I mean, whoever came on, had an impact. Rashford, Grealish, both of them scoring as well. So,
Wilson,
this is how this Wilson as well with an assist. Yeah. This is how they started 2018. Red hot on fire, and they sort of just kind of tapered off, and there wasn't that fluidity towards the end of the competition. But it's a cup competition. Let's see what happens, and if they can continue the momentum and hit their straps every game. But we've seen Germany go down today. We've seen Argentina go down. So anything's possible in a cup.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, this World Cup has been so unpredictable so far. That Saudi Arabia result yesterday, that was insane. Like it's phenomenal from their point of view, from Saudi Arabia's point of view. But I mean, the likes of Messi, Di Maria, Lautaro Martinez, I mean, those are huge world class names. And I mean, it's crazy. Like the Japan game today as well. Uh, Germany was they were dominating that game completely. I mean, like it was completely against the run of play. Jason, do you have anything to add on how this World Cup has been thus far?
I mean, look, it's one that started with quite a bit of controversy, right? Everything surrounding Qatar and the running of it. So I think people that was a big focus before this actually started, and then in the first game we have those goals that are like disallowed, and Ecuador actually get the win. So now people were rumors, everything was going around, match fixing, all of that, and then you see the first goal that's in ruled for offside, and there's immediately controversy. I think it's good that there actually been upsets, man. I think it's it's almost that these teams aren't really holding anything back. Previously you'd have Germany who would absolutely wallop Japan, maybe. You'd have Saudi Arabia who would have just gone into the shell. But it's actually, I think it's a time where you can actually press, because most of these international teams, they don't show great deals of consistency. Recent times, I think there's not one international team that's actually been like thoroughly consistent. If I think of a consistent spell, I think of Spain from like 2008 all the way to 2012. That's complete dominance, right? But now the world number one changes. These rankings are so skewed now as well. So I think it's very hard to call. And I think we had mentioned that in our group earlier, that teams have nothing to lose. Like, just go for it. I think looking at England had to beat Iran, right? Because that should be the case. But now maybe somebody like US looks at England. Maybe there's a potential weakness there that they can find. US played with a very high press, and I think if Aronson plays, because even for Leeds, Aronson leads most of their pressing game. So put Gio Reyna, who's been in crazy form for Dortmund when he actually plays, because he's also had a few niggles now and again. I think it's gonna be one where we'll still see a few more upsets. And yeah, if I was a betting man, I think I'd be losing quite a bit of money, right? Because I'd be betting on favorites. But I should actually maybe change the whole strategy now and just go underdogs, because maybe I'd actually get some good returns, some decent returns.
Yeah, speaking of that, so we have a match predictor league going, and Ziyaad, your picks haven't really gone according to plan, eh?
Man, I started like a house on fire, got the first one right, score line and everything, and since then downhill. Can't get the results, can't get the scores, goal difference, nothing.
Yeah, so what's like just off the back of all Jason's comments, what's your take on the World Cup thus far?
So I think it's been quite fun, to be honest. Some of the games obviously a bit slow. We had a couple of 0-0 draws, in the past day or so. But for the most part, it's been good value, good entertainment. And obviously the upsets make it even more interesting, because for me, recently I've started, like, wanting the little guy to win over the big guy. That's something started, a couple of months ago with the Cricket World Cup and so on. And I just wanted to continue, and see the the teams that aren't fancied, put in a good shift. And if you look at it, like the Argentina game, for example, Saudi actually played really well. It wasn't like Argentina made a glaring error and gave it to them. They actually had a game plan that they stuck to. And the same with Japan. Like, they wanted to defend early and then bring on their speed towards the back end, and they conceded. But when they changed it up and they unleashed those players, it was very difficult for Germany, obviously, to keep up. And they had solid plans and they took their chances, which was, pretty cool to see. And I'm just hoping it continues, because I love the entertainment.
Yeah, I was going to ask which team you're actually supporting, seeing that there's no Italy, there's no Ivory Coast in this World Cup. That's your top two out of the running over there.
Yeah, so I just stick with Africa, stick with Asia, and hope something comes from there. It's never easy for the African countries to go far because they're always up against it in their groups. Senegal lost Sadio Mane, so that's another dagger. So I'm hoping Ghana does well. It's a bit disappointed with Morocco up front, but their midfield and defense were fairly good against Croatia. So yeah, Ghana maybe. Looks like Japan could be quite interesting. I'm curious to see how Korea get on. So I can't wait to see them. Yeah, just see how far those teams can get.
Yeah, nice one. A fixture that's coming up regarding Ghana is Portugal, and I mean Portugal has this dark Cristiano Ronaldo cloud floating over their camp at the moment, so it might be a good chance for them to get a win against Portugal.
Yeah, I think Cristiano hacked into our feed and cut you off there. No slander allowed.
Yeah, I think the mere mention of his name suddenly makes AF freeze up.
SFCR7 hacking there.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has eyes and ears
He's going
everywhere.
into IT now. That's
Man,
the
he's
creative.
got 500 million followers. Someone is watching you. While the Wi-Fi, whatever it was, blocked you there. Just a quick one on Canada, Damon. If you can maybe tell us a bit more about Canada, because I'm really excited to see them play.
Canada's
pace
very
they got.
interesting. Yeah, Canada's interesting because they came out flying during qualifiers, and I think there's no better player to point out to be like, yeah, he's a guy than Alphonso Davies. He plays more of an attacking role with Canada, which is the way that he played when he was with the Vancouver Whitecaps in MLS. He was more of a winger instead of a left back. When he moved over to Bayern, they dropped him back a little bit. And yeah, when he plays, he's really good. The thing that worries me is if he's healthy. And that's been a big problem going into this World Cup because we just had club competition like a week and a half ago at the very least. And all these players going down, and he was one of them to take a hit, as well as Sadio Mane as well. So I would be a little worried for Canada if Alphonso isn't 100%. They still do have Kyle Larin up top, who is a striker who was in MLS, went overseas, and did pretty okay overseas so far. So at least they do have like a guy that they can point out to the finish, which a lot of these teams right now I'm looking at, and I'm like, yeah, who's your striker though? And that's a U.S. problem as well. But Canada does interest me. I think this group may be a little too much for them to handle, especially Belgium right out of the gate. I think Belgium going into this World Cup, that whole golden generation thing is kind of dwindled behind them, but they still have some top class players. They still have De Bruyne in form, who's been amazing for Man City this year. So I do look at Belgium like maybe they can shock some people this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I also was keeping my eye on Belgium, and I actually thought Belgium. Well, my prediction is Belgium to beat Canada, but on ESPN they actually got it the other way around. They actually think Canada could take Belgium. So
Yeah,
let's
maybe
see what
it's a
happens.
Jonathan David hat-trick, You never know. The guy's in form.
Nah, he mustn't score too much, man, because if his value goes too high, we can't afford him.
Yeah, fair enough.
Speaking about Arsenal players, how did you guys like Matt Turner in goal for America the other night? Jason and Ziyaad, seeing that you
Look,
guys are
he's
watching your
really
backup.
I think there's a misconception about players coming out of MLS, right? It's never been really looked as this league where they produce these stars, but more and more we've seen US guys coming out of there and actually going to go play in the top European leagues, which is a testament now because now you can look at that national team and you've got guys that I think almost maybe it could be. Maybe Damon must maybe correct me about this, but maybe 50% of your squad is playing out of US. Could be
more than that at this point.
Yeah.
And that's been a big thing. And this came back to the Jurgen Klinsmann years. He was very heavily scrutinized because he said we need more of our young players to go overseas. And it's like, whoa, no, we want to keep them here. We want to keep them playing in our league. Because we want our league to get better, which I completely understand. You do want your domestic league to still have quality.
Yeah.
But seeing these guys go overseas constantly, and it's not just U.S. players, it's Canadian players, it's Central American players, and then to help the league domestically, maybe bring some Argentines over. And Paraguayans like Miguel Almiron was, probably one of the biggest names to come out and be very successful now at Newcastle. So the league itself, they've gone from we're going to have these big stars And that's what's going to bring the people out in droves to, we're going to develop talent that can then go forward to Europe. We'll make money off of transfers, which is how the rest of the world works, obviously. And that's how we'll be successful as a league. And yeah, maybe occasionally we'll get like Gareth Bale for a year, or Zlatan Ibrahimovic for a couple of years, or whoever a big name could be coming in next. But that's been maybe. Or Messi. Yeah, Messi's been linked with Miami since the second David Beckham said, I'm making a team in Miami. So we'll see what comes with that. But that's been a very big proponent from the league. And I think the world is starting to take notice that North America is good at developing talent.
Yeah. I think when you look at the infrastructure that you guys have, it should be, because like I think for all of your major sports, money is pumped in. Like if you were to look at gridiron, you look at your basketball, like there's cash that is there. So yeah, hey, just getting back to like Matt Turner, he had played a few games for Arsenal and decent shot stopper, but I mean, to be fair, we were giving him games when we were playing like Europa League, right? We were playing against teams that really shouldn't cause us too much. So now that is, I think, his first choice, World Cup, first time in 8 years, as Damon mentioned. I think it should be interesting. I was actually watching a video of him, and he had some ESPN howler when he was younger or something, where he hit the shot.
Yeah, the shocker.
He started playing soccer when he was in college. He was 17 when he started. And it was an absolute howler.
Even that, just adding that in, and that he is the first year keeper at the World Cup. Yeah, I think it's
crazy.
It's good.
He's from my local MLS team, New England Revolution. I watched him play for years, watched him develop. He still needs to get better, working at his feet a little bit. He's a great shot stopper, but when it comes to playing out of the back, which is what Greg Berhalter loves to do, struggles a little bit. So it was a little surprising not seeing Zach Steffen selected, but that was the decision that was made. So yeah, I'm really excited to see Matt Turner because I love my Revs. They're my MLS team, and it's cool to see that represented on national stage. And hopefully he does continue to get more minutes with Arsenal, and we'll see. I thought he played okay yesterday. Didn't have any major mistakes.
Does Arsenal have more goalkeepers at the World Cup than United?
Probably.
100%.
Who's United's backup? I don't know. Tom Heaton. I didn't.
Dubravka,
that guy.
Heaton.
I'm old guy, yeah.
Yeah.
But listen, man, can we do a pulse check on Mubeen? Is he still alive there?
Yeah, fine.
I think he's worried about the England versus USA game on Friday night.
Nah, I think he's more worried about Harry's ankle.
I think it's gonna be a good game. USA are a phenomenal team, and like I said earlier, it's a cup, World Cup. We've seen things happen already, so I wouldn't be surprised if they were to pull one over us. But it's still coming home.
Who's the other team in that group? It's England, USA, Iran, and Wales. Yeah. I feel like Wales can be a tricky one for all teams considered.
Yeah,
I think Wales don't need much like extra motivation, right? Isn't it their first time at the World Cup in like years? So they're just happy to be there and just push as hard as you can, I suppose.
Well, AF and I were talking about Wales and Bale in particular, and kind of his lack of impact on the field. He really didn't do much until he came up and drew a penalty and scored it. But that's the kind of thing with Gareth Bale these days, is he doesn't need to have a direct impact throughout the play for the full 90 minutes. He just needs one moment. He's proved that for every single final, every single major tournament he's been in, whether it's Real Madrid, LAFC, or Tottenham. He just needs one moment.
He did that in the MLS Cup, right?
Yeah, he scored in the 127th minute.
Which is what all of these games actually feel like now, right? Because they're adding on time from every little.
Yeah, what is that? What is that?
Yeah, I actually meant to ask in the group why the added time is. I mean, it's like basically a quarter of another half.
Yeah, man, there's been a lot of injuries, man, like collisions and
Yeah, I
stuff.
mean, a couple of games, but I mean, I was
Yeah, but
watching
I mean, every
the
single
Japan,
game, it's
the
about like
Japan
8 to
Germany
10
game.
minutes.
Yeah, the Japan Germany game. I mean, there was, besides for the substitutions, there were no real injuries, or I mean,
So
maybe there
they've
was 7 minutes or 8 minutes added on.
Yeah. Apparently, every celebration, every VAR check, they're actually keeping track of that time. That's what Pio Colina, the head of FIFA, referee said. So they're almost wanting to cut out all of the time wasting, but it just feels weird, man. Like 90
Yeah,
minutes
then
and then
why
it's
don't they
it's
just stop the clock every
90.
time there's a
Yeah.
stoppage?
Yeah.
That's the American
like
way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It like makes so much sense. They even do it in
Everyone's
rugby.
doing it.
Rugby does it as well, yeah.
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 It's weird. Okay, before we wrap up, let's just go around and get everybody's predictions on this World Cup. Jason, I'm going to start with you. Yeah, winner.
Messi.
It's gonna have to
Hopefully.
change a lot after yesterday.
Hey, no. Look here. I'm still standing on the fact that I think Argentina will pull it through. They have too good of a squad to firstly not make it out of the group. I'm saying that, also knocking on wood at the same time. I think the experience that they have in the squad should see them through. And yeah, I'm still gonna count on my goat coming through, man.
Ronaldo.
No, never.
If you're looking for a goat, just go to Philippi.
But yeah,
Damon.
Argentina will make it out.
So I also had Argentina to win it all. I'm still gonna stick on them only because there's no other team in the world, there's no other nation in the world that thrives in chaos as good as Argentina does. And if this World Cup has shown anything, is that it can easily get chaotic very quickly. Now, if Argentina somehow fumbled the bag again, Spain are looking like they're starting to actually do the thing where they know how to score a goal. And if they can figure that out without having a striker, you watch out for them.
Yep. I agree. I agree. Ziyaad?
Yeah, I think Brazil's gonna win it. I'm not really supporting them, but yeah, I just see Brazil going all the way. It's hard to look past them. I mean, got a good squad. Exciting young team also, and yeah, it's the way the draw and stuff will play out. I don't think the European teams stand out to me as a clear favorite like before. And mostly it's the injuries, man. Like I'd have said France, but with the injuries that they've had, and they just lost a guy last night also. Yeah, I'll stick with Brazil. I'd love some random team to win it, like maybe a Denmark or Belgium's not really that random, but yeah, someone different. But yeah, I think I'll just stick with Brazil. Play it safe.
Cool. Mubeen?
I think you should have practiced that.
Yeah, you didn't rehearse it. You didn't rehearse it.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm always gonna back England. Yeah, but if they don't pull through, I probably probably just some, not a minor team, but like a Belgium or a mid tier team to win it. But I'd like to see one of the African countries, at least progress to a quarter or a semi. And I really do feel for Japan after what happened in the last World Cup. So hoping that they, also progress quite far. I mean, I was really impressed with the way they played. To me, they dominated that second half. It was a game of two halves with Germany dominated the first, and they had a lot of position in the second half and made it count with some quick football. So yeah.
Nice one. I'm going for Brazil as well. I just think for the first time they have a very solid squad, like all around. Neymar has been complaining for years about not having a good team around him, and I think for the first time they literally have depth in every single position, and it's not just any type of depth; it's quality depth that they have in every single position. So I think it's hard to look past Brazil. I'm still hoping that Spain does something. I don't know what it was, 3-0 at halftime, I think. So that's so that's a good start for them, and hoping that they can carry it on. But yeah, I think that's all from us today. Thank you, Jason, Damon, Mubeen, and Ziyaad for joining. Yeah, Damon, where can the guys find you on social media?
You can find me on the Twitters, so long as it still exists, at Damon Tweets. On TikTok, I'm more of a comics person. I very much get into that nerd stuff, so it's at Damon Talks Comics, TOKS, Talks Comics on Twitter. And if we're doing Hive now, I guess that's a thing. Damon Hives.
That sounds like someone who should be an actor. That's a screen name.
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Only after dark, or what? How does it work?
Yeah. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate all the time that you guys took out to show up tonight. I'm a 3FOUR3. Peace.